Greetings, everyone, and welcome to IKG's Virtual Wisdom Wednesday. Today, January 20th, 2021. Welcome to a new year. We are so excited that you are here and able to join us virtually as we present and begin our series of lectures. IKG Wisdom Wednesdays is a monthly lecture series held on the third Wednesday of every month, where we have various speakers come in to share knowledge and information related to African history, culture, spirituality, politics, technology, all areas of people activity. And tonight, it is no different. So we are virtual. So what we do ask is that we just kind of let us know who all is in the building, and we just kind of shout out some of the different places. So of course we have DC in the house, and we have our neighbors to the north. We have Canada in the house, Pittsburgh, Philly. Oh, multiple places, people from Canada. All right. Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, that is. Sacramento, California. Someone says Southeast DC. You got to know, be from DC to understand that lingo. Southeast. Oh, okay. Maryland, North Carolina, New York, Florida, Tennessee. All right. So we're just so thankful that Alabama, we're so thankful that you all are taking the time to be a part of this program where, although we're virtual, one of the pluses is that we're able to expand our audience and to have people from all over join us. So again, we see in Texas here, Rhode Island. Um, I saw another state that was a ways from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. New Jersey. So yeah, we got New Jersey in the house, Michigan. So thank you. And again, welcome for joining us. Detroit, Boston. All right. So tonight's program is on Black avatars, meditation, and soul wealth. And our presenter is Master Jeru Love. What does it mean when it is said, be still and know that I am God? What is this and how do we do it? Tonight's presentation will cover the Black avatars, ascended masters, and masters throughout time. He will discuss how we have an unprecedented opportunity to step up from the plate of greatness and change the course of current times from darkness into light through Know Thyself, the power of meditation. Tonight, Master J. Brew will examine the value of silence and how to manifest with secrets of the soul as a melanated being. He will also cover ways to raise your vibration in all four of your bodies: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Master Jeru Love is an international transformational speaker, visionary, WHOW coach, and master meditation teacher, having taught on 5 continents in 35 countries. He is the founder and CIO, Chief Inspirational Officer of Real Wealth Institute. He is a transcendental meditation master with over 60,000 hours of meditation experience. His initial training was with the founder of Transcendental Meditation, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, in Ethiopia, Africa, at the base of the Blue Nile. He is the author of Wealth Secrets of the Soul, How to Be Wealthy, Healthy, Opulent, and Wise. He is also the author of 2 additional books, Autobiography of a Black Yogi and 108 Ways to Raise Your Vibration. So now I'm going to ask Master J. Love to come on screen. All right. Welcome, welcome to tonight's Virtual Wisdom Wednesday. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you, Ottawa. It's a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to now go off screen and allow you to share your screen and begin your presentation. We are all looking forward to the wonderful knowledge that you have to share with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Um, it says here that the host has disabled my screen sharing. Um, Ottawa?
Yes, it's available now. So you can go ahead and share.
Okay. I'm going to start off. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. I don't want to share my screen yet. All right. A little technical stuff here. Let's see here. I don't want to share it yet. Okay, so tonight's presentation is going to cover a lot. I would suggest to take notes if you can, and any questions that you have, because the details bring out a lot more. Put them in the chat or write them down for the end. We're gonna give an overview because it's a lot of knowledge.
I'm sorry.
So,
Can I pause you for one moment? If you
mhm.
do have a question, I forgot to mention that there's a Q&A box. So at the end, we will present questions to our presenter. So please type any questions you have in the Q&A box. Thank you. Thank you
There
for
you go.
reminding me. Thank you. Yes.
Well, thank you, family. And so, uh, the three topics, which are Black avatars, meditation, and soul wealth, um, each one of those topics could take years. So we're just going to give an overview and just start the remembering process within ourselves, because a lot of the experience here.
All right, everyone. It appears our presenter accidentally exited the meeting. He'll be joining us shortly. Just give us one moment. He'll be getting right back on. South Carolina, just noting some people. We also have some additional meditation trained meditationists, I guess we can call you, in the audience. Okay. All right, J. Rue, you're back. Wonderful. You're on mute. Great. There we go.
Okay, yeah, a few little technical things. And as my experience, I've been doing Zoom since the COVID thing started, but when the frequencies and the vibrations go up, a lot of times the um, internet can't handle it. So, but we'll keep going and we'll put it out. So basically, I want to share my screen here and bring up um, one of my slides. And starting from the beginning in terms of who we are and what we are, and especially us as Black folks, they call us soul brothers and soul sisters, and there's a reason for that. I'm gonna touch on that a little bit, but basically, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that we're in a time that's referred to as collective unconsciousness, or in the East, they call it what is called Kali Yuga, the age of ignorance. Even though we're coming out very fast into, some of you probably heard of the age of Aquarius, Sat Yuga, the golden age, heaven on earth. That's literally dawning now. And that, from different sacred texts and what have you, that all knowledge, all information, and expects all truth is inside of you. You might be guided by something outside of you, but it's all within. And now is the time to start waking up and realizing who we really are. I mean, we call ourselves kings and queens, emperors and empresses, gods and goddesses. And this is true, but you got to realize it. If you don't realize it, then sometimes it's hard to make it down the street. Sometimes, like, as you know, getting up in the morning, whereas your mind and your body are still awake inside. And we're going to talk a little bit about different states of consciousness. But even though your body is tired and knocked out when you go into a deep sleep state, your blood is still going through your veins, your heart is still beating. So there's a part of you that is conscious. And we're basically multidimensional conscious light beings. It's just that we're only aware of a small portion of it. And I'm going to get also more in terms of meditation and how that helps you to tap into, who you really, really are. All right. So we're looking forward to expanding our awareness, because if you don't expand your awareness, just to give you a little analogy, they say that, the one becomes the many, and then the many comes back to becoming the one. A whole process of descending into matter, your spirit self, your soul, your Atman, whatever you want to call it, but the spiritual part of you descending into matter and then ascending back into that oneness, that greatness, that light. And, inside of every human being on planet Earth, as long as you're a human being with a nervous system, then you have, omnipresent powers, which is a definition for God: omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. You have that potential. And through the process of living and expanding and getting the stress off of your nervous system, then you start to realize this, because knowledge is different in different states of consciousness. So, they say mentally that the average human being only uses maybe 5 or 10% of their mental potential in their entire life. So, in terms of secrets of the mind. So there's so much power. They even say that scientifically that there's enough power, physical power, in every human being to run a small city. That's how powerful we are. Not to mention the infinite, unbounded spiritual power that has no limit. Okay. And so we're involved in thought, and your thought, naturally comes to you. You have a nervous system, you have your physical body, your nerves go out through every fiber of your body. They connect up to your brain through your neurons. Your neurons firing connects you with your mind. Okay. But the mind, just like the great brother Thoth in the Hermetic principles, the main principle, the number one principle is that it's all mind, M-I-N-D, but it's also all mind, M-I-N-E, because, if the universe, God, source is, omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, which is a general definition that, even though there are different definitions of God, but that, covers everything, then where is God not? All right. including in you and around you. But to become conscious, to become, really woke, not just woke in terms of, certain things in the relative existence, but to be woke on all levels, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And in the Western world, we also have to deal with abundance and finances. But all that's created, as it says in one of the ancient texts, where everything is twice born. And when something is twice born, it's born in your mind first, always, and then in 3D reality. So all of us have quantum thought. You have 60 to 100,000 thoughts a day, every day. There's not a person on this call that, woke up in the morning and went throughout the day without having thoughts. Thoughts are part of our essence, and thoughts are things. In fact, thoughts are light particles, and you never run out of thoughts. Think about it. Have you ever run out of thoughts in your conscious state? So there's an endless supply of thoughts, right? And if you look at your creative intelligence, the same intelligence that created you, that created, the sun, the moon, the stars. I mean, you look, we're on planet Earth, revolving around the sun, going at over 1,000 miles an hour. And we're in this solar system with 9 planets. And then we're in the Milky Way galaxies. And then there are clusters of galaxies. And then it's the whole universe. And then there's universes within universe. And it goes worlds without end, universes without end. It's actually called the omniverse. All right. Now, it also goes the other way. It goes within. And there's 33 creative impulses, major impulses in the universe. Some people refer to them as angels, archangels, ancestors, great beings. But those same 33 creative impulses are within you. And you also have 33 steps up the ladder of your kundalini, up the ladder of your spine, which is referred to as Jacob's ladder, that goes up to the crown, the 1,000-petal lotus that's connected with the base of your spine. See, we're spiritual beings first. Your spiritual aspect, your chakras, your energy, your meridian, all those different things manifested before your physical body manifested. And this all happened through the word, just like it was said in that sacred book, the Bible. All right, which is misunderstood and translated over 700 times. But the essence, if you have the consciousness to read it, it's there. It's in the Quran. It's in the Bhagavad Gita. It's in these sacred texts, the Baha'u'llah. All of them are there, and just by cognition, the greatest understanding, understanding, is through cognition. See, there's 3 levels of knowingness. And that takes us back to the very beginning, and in ancient Kemet, and going back into Atlantis, and even going back a little further into, Lemuria and Pan and these different things, as we start to open up our awareness. But across the temples in Kemet, it was know thyself. Know thyself. All right. And if you don't know yourself, how are you going to know anybody else or anything else? And that comes from conscious thought. That comes from your word. All right. So, and there's 3 levels of understanding. The first level is superstition. You believe the world is flat and and all this black cat and voodoo dolls and all that stuff. But because we're creators, if you really believe that stuff, it starts to manifest, because we're creating and manifesting all the time. The second level is the level of belief. And that level of belief is you believe this. And because we're powerful, you can believe things into existence, because we're creators. We're made in the image and likeness of the creator, of God, of the universe. All right. But the ultimate level, which is the level that we're all going to, is the level of knowingness. You know. And knowingness comes through experience, and also comes through cognition, downloads. You get the truth, and then the truth starts to set you free. You know it. And the greatest teacher, the greatest guru, the greatest shaman is within you. In fact, in the Eastern culture, they call it the Satguru. And the greatest Satguru is inside of yourself. And traditionally, talking about the avatars, an avatar, a basic definition of an avatar is when God, fully realized God, manifests on earth. So I know you've heard of some of these beings, Quetzalcoatl, Yeshua or Yeshua. Some people refer to him as Jesus. You know, there are different portions. Moses was also a part of an avatar. I'm going to show you some modern ones as we get further into this presentation. But it just means that the person's completely coming in, Krishna, Rama, coming from the Ra, and then the feminine part of Ma. All right. So an avatar is completely woke, completely God realized, and generally comes on earth when there is a certain time where, you know, things have usually gone out of balance. And we're not really seeing them anymore because we're all avatars. In fact, I started a group recently and would like to invite a number of you people in, number of brothers and sisters and family in it, called Black Avatars, because we are Black Avatars. And I'm not talking about that movie, but that movie, you know, Avatar, took certain things, you know, all the movies, the Star Wars, the Avatars, the this and that, there was another little movie years ago called Powder, where a person just had so much power that, you know, no hair could be on their body. Then they just go off into light. Okay, we're literally light beings. All right. So as an avatar, you are fully realized, a fully realized human being. There's no stress in your nervous system. Okay. There is your mind is completely activated. All of your gray matter, you know, which in the brain, and the junk DNA, where you know they talk about we only have two major strands, the other of it is junk. Okay, you start to have all 12 strands of your DNA and all 12 of your chakras. You know, you got your 7 major, but then there's 4 above your head and 1 below your feet. So that's 12 times 12. That's what's referred to as the 144, the 144,000 that are going to be saved. You save yourself. It's all self-referral. All right. But you got to do the work. And doing the work is the conditioning, the programming, the society that we're in, the fear-based reality. And us as Black folks, we got a whole nother thing, which, you know, is referred to as post-traumatic slave syndrome. Just listened to a brother last week where, you know, scientifically it's been proved it's passed, you know, through epigenetics in the genes. Because that whole thing, you know, that, you know, my mother and my father had, you know, hypertension and you know, and I had, they had heart disease. No. 95%, even from scientific point of view, is created from your environment. 95%. So if your environment is rough and jacked and, you know, then that's going to be carried on. And it's carried on for something like 7 generations. That's the other good thing, too. As we get further into this, I'm going to be talking about enlightenment, where you're lit, you're woke. And when you're enlightened, you literally electrify, illumine, radiate 7 generations up. What? I can't even hardly say it because there's really no future, but ahead of you. And then there's 7 generations behind you. Okay. So when you become enlivened, enlightened, it reach states of nirvana, heaven on earth, you know, back to Eden, you literally bless 7 generations before you, 7 generations behind you, and you bless the whole human race. Okay. But initially it goes into family and direct lines, and then it spreads all out. All right. So we're very, very powerful beings. We have no idea how powerful you are, right? In fact, there was an ancient guy called Patanjali. Some of you might have heard of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And he was also a brother, okay? And he has one of the sutras, which is called the Flying Sutra. You know, yogis used to fly, and they still do, but it's a little tougher now with the environment, because your pure conscious can bring you up, but the collective consciousness, the collective unconsciousness of the world can bring you down, back down, okay? And so, but the ultimate of that sutra is that you should be able to walk on sunbeams and moonbeams and fly throughout the universe at will. And I know that's pretty expansive. I mean, you know, I was telling that to a brother up in DC who was going through some challenges. He said, look, man, sometimes I can't even make it down the street. All right. Which is true. And a lot of us know sometimes you can't even get out of bed in the morning, or you go throughout the day, have a lot of activity, you get a little rest at night, and then you're so tired in the morning. It's because your physical being, you know, your body, which is not you. You have a body, you have a mind, you have an intellect, you have an ego, you have emotions, but none of them are you. Those are tools. You know, you are spirit, you're Atman, your soul, and your soul is connected to whatever you want to call it, an oversoul or a monad, and then it's all connected to source, God, universe. All right. So as you start to awaken the three major states of consciousness, which are waking, dreaming, and sleeping, you start to become a witness, an observer. They talk about it in quantum physics, the observer effect. And nothing really happens until you observe it. All right. And the more you observe things and not get caught up in them and not let the ego take you out. In fact, an acronym for the ego is EGO, edging God out, edging your God force out. And so the more you become awake and aware in those states of consciousness, you start to create another state of consciousness. Okay? And that state of consciousness starts to enliven the other three. And you start to become awake, aware, and vibrantly alive. And then there's so many secrets of the body. All right. And in fact, I'm going to show your brother in a minute where, you know, you start youthing, all right, as opposed to aging. All right. You start to even though there's stress in the world and you function in it, you become like a duck. You know, no matter how much water a duck is in, it just rolls off. That's what's called down feathers. You start to create, your nervous system is so strong, you start, there's a term, a Sanskrit term, which is called rasava kavach. You create this armor so it doesn't affect you. And that's that whole saying, I'm in this world, but I'm not of it. Right? But that takes work. But it takes a lot less work than what we have to do, whatever it is, 40, 50, 60 hours a week to earn some money to, you know, pay for this thing, that bill, housing, clothing. But ultimately, from the level of Ritam Bar Pragya, that which knows truth, all right, you should be able to, if you develop your consciousness enough, you think something and it instantly happens. That's what happened to Yeshua. As soon as he said something, because he was totally in tune with natural law, all the atoms and molecules would rush to fulfill it. All of them. Okay, so water to wine, Lazarus get up. In fact, you know, the spiritual people of the time said if he hadn't used Lazarus' name, everybody would have got up out of the graveyard, because we have that kind of power. All right. And this realm, the third dimensional realm, which in modern terms is called the matrix, is an illusion, but it's not an illusion when you're in it. When you're in it, it's real. But if you transcend it, then you go beyond it, and then they're higher and greater. You know, some of you might remember the Black group, the Fifth Dimensions. Okay. They had a song called The Age of Aquarius, when Jupiter aligns with Mars and da da da. That's happening right now. Right now. But we're in the dawn of it. And in the dawn, there's still darkness. All right. And so instead of death, disease, disorganization, disharmony, okay, we're looking at youthing, light, and no more death. See, ascension is a natural affair of a conscious being. You do not have to drop your body, but it takes work to get there. Okay, when Yeshua ascended, they said that was a big thing, and it was for the normal people. But you go back further, all right, it was standard. And just like the movie, you had these big blue beings, all right. And in the sacred book, they refer to them as the Nephilim. Okay, that was us. The average man was 15 feet tall. The average woman was 10 feet tall. Okay, and we lived in the thousands. That thing about Methuselah, all that's correct. And they say, Brother Thoth, some people say he ruled for 2,000 years in ancient Atlantis, Kemet. Others say he ruled for 14,000 years. So you got to be around for a while if you're going to rule that long. Okay. But literally, humans lived for thousands of years and nobody died. You ascended. You gave your gifts. All right. And then you ascended, which means you just take your frequency and vibration to a higher level. You go to the fifth dimension. See, we're in the third dimension. Every night when you go to sleep, you go into the fourth dimension. That's referred to as the astral plane. All right. And the higher and lower aspects of the astral plane is what they used to refer to as heaven, and the lower would be hell. Okay. But we're moving on to the fifth dimension. The actual, the fourth dimension is shrinking. And the whole planet. See, on most planets, the beings live inside the planet. We live on the outside. And also the frequency and vibration is so high that our 3D instruments can't even pick them up. All right. So now that the planet is ascending, everybody on it has to ascend. And what's going through now is what is called a phase transition. But I want to show you guys an avatar that lived on this planet. All right. And that were us. Some of you might have heard of this brother. Some of you might not have. He's also gotten a lot of bad press. The media but his name is Satya Sai Baba. You see the brother has a bush. Okay. The brother is a brother, and he was an avatar. I think they said he was like a half avatar. All right. Because they classify in other parts of the world quarter, half, full, and what have you. All right. And in fact, one of his a great saying is, look, I'm God and you're God. The difference is I know it and you don't. And when we say no, we're talking to knowingness, not some intellectual understanding. All right. Here's another brother, which probably very few people know about. His name is Tatwala Baba. You see the brother has dreads longer than him. All right. And he was a great master that achieved enlightenment. And he just stayed in a cave. In fact, there's a story. My teacher, a little black lady in Atlanta, Georgia, named Pauline, she went up to his cave one time back in the day in India. She was on a course, and she was with a Caucasian lady from like London, and they crawled up in this cave, and it was it's a cave. It's not like running water and you got lights and you got furniture. It's an official cave. And the white lady crawled in there, and she was like, oh my God, how can he live like this? So he came out of his meditation, and she said, don't you want to go to Paris? Don't you want to go to Rome and London? And he looked at her and he said, look, I am Paris. I am Rome. Without my meditations, these places wouldn't even exist. Okay. So there's some beings on this planet, and all of us are connected. Remember, the one became the many. Now the many's coming back to the one. The same consciousness that's looking through my eyes and the 150 something, 200 something people on this line, all right, and through Tatwala Baba, through the Maharishi, through Jesus, through Mohammed, through whoever, is the same. That's the thing they talk about, the oneness. Okay. But as souls, we've chosen certain experiences. And usually the souls that feel they can handle the most get they volunteer. That's another thing about planet Earth. And I know the conditioning in the media and the way society is, but there are no victims. They're only volunteers. It's just that there's an amnesia when you come from the spiritual realm into the physical realm. It's designed that way. Because if you remembered everything, in a small, fragile body with a small, fragile bone, a brain, it's like 50,000 watts going through a little a light bulb. It would be just too much. Okay? So, all of us on that level are one. On that cosmic, galactic, universal level, there's only one of us. But on this level, the game of separation is being played. All right? You're you, I'm me, gender, this and that, religion, da 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 da. But the more you grow in consciousness, the more unified your experience becomes. And then you start to interact the sciences that have been left out that we had in ancient Kemet. Astrology, numerology, color therapy, aromatherapy, all these things, the herbs, the spices, all these things are natural, and all these things are helping you to be in alignment with yourself, right? And see, the way the nervous system works is you pick up experiences all day, every day, and then the body starts manifesting being tired. And when the body starts manifesting being tired, nature's natural way of rejuvenating the system is through rest, through deep rest. So the deeper the rest, the more profound the activity. But you can sleep your life away. So that's where meditation comes in, all right? Where you're still conscious and you become still, all right? Because when you go into deep sleep, you become unconscious. But when you're totally awake, when you're a realized being, what I call a black avatar, all right, then you witness the waking state, you witness the dream state, sometimes referred to as lucid dreaming, and you witness the deep sleep state. You witness yourself sleepy, okay? And, on the esoteric level, they say every night when you go to sleep, which is the experience, but most people don't remember because it would just be too much, you go to these, at least to the fourth dimension, that plane, and you're connected by what is called a silver thread. And then you come back. Some people have these experiences when they have an NDE, a near-death experience. But literally, you have it every night, all right? And as you become more and more aware, you will be aware during your waking, your dreaming, and your sleep. And you'll never lose your awareness. And it's full of bliss, light, love, because that's who we are. There's only one definition in the sacred book of God. God is love. Okay? That's the only true religion, is love. And if you look at the love itself, as an acronym, the light of victory everywhere, or the more you love, and you spell it backwards, evolve. The more you love, the more you evolve. The more you evolve, the more you love. Until you get to a place of unconditional love, referred to as agape. It's all kinds of different loves, all right? But the universal, goodness, Godspell love is within all of us, but you got to get that stress off. If you don't get that stress off, you'll just grow up, get old, and die. All right. And we all know that there's much more to life than that. Okay. So what we're looking at is these different secrets coming into our awareness, because it's all in us. All knowledge is inside of us. So that you don't get and understand what disease is. It's dis-ease causing a physical malfunction in the body. So if you don't have the dis-ease, if you're at one with yourself and in balance, just like that eye of the storm, okay, then you have a stress-free, disease-free, ageless body. Okay. Physical immortality is something that is real, but it's not part of the normal day-to-day reality. In fact, I met a brother once who was going over to the East. He said, and he actually wrote a book on physical immortality. And he said, I'm going to visit, a brother that's 2,000 years old. And of course, they're not in the city. You got to, go back in the jungle and all these different places. And, this was in India, in the Himalayas, in these high rarefied environments. And he said, do you want to come? He takes people on tours. You talk about sacred site tours. And then, we were talking to him. He said, look, I'm doing a whole study and research on it. And he said, I won't even talk to somebody unless they're 350, minimum 350. All right. So these boundaries that, a human being only gets up to 5 or 6 feet, barely makes it to 100, is what we've created. All right. Even modern science will tell you there's a death hormone, and people think they're going to die, so they do. You can go in and reprogram yourself. All right. That's what enlightenment is you're in the light. You're not in the dark anymore. But that's also a dichotomy, because everything comes out of the dark. The black hole, when you put a seed in the ground, it's in the darkness. So it's so much, dichotomies and paradoxes. But the main thing, as long as you work on yourself and raise your consciousness, these things will be revealed to you by the renewing of your mind. And one of the highest and best ways is through meditation. Okay. Yes, meditation will get rid of stress. Yes, meditation will, help you to settle your mind. But meditation takes you to God realization, especially regular meditation and deep meditation. Any form of meditation will help you. But the deeper the meditation, the more profound your experience in the relative. Myself, I'm a teacher of Transcendental Meditation, which I think is I call it the Rolls Royce of meditation. Any form of meditation will help you. But TM is simple, easy. We teach you 20 minutes twice a day, how to set up a program, what is called sadhana, spiritual practice. And, and things that are good for you stay with you. Things that are not so good for you start to fade away, because you're doing the practice. You're opening up your awareness. Your secrets of your relationships, how, to know thyself, forgiveness. A lot of stress is created when somebody holds on to things. You hear this all the time. What you did was unforgivable. That's absurd. If you don't forgive, see, forgiveness is not necessarily for the other person. It's for you. All right. You don't have to condone the behavior. All right. But you forgive, to give for, because otherwise you hold on to that energy. We're energetic beings. It's just like what the Buddha said years ago. He said, being angry at someone is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die, because it's going through you. And just think about it. All of us make mistakes. When you're at a 5 or 10% level, you're going to make mistakes. If we can open up the other 90 to 85% as a human being, then yes, at that level, a human being, to be human is to be perfect. To be human is a divine. We're divine beings, but you got to get there. You got to do the work. If you don't do the work, it's just like the brother Sai Baba said, the human being can go all the way up to the Davidic level, up to the and beyond, up to the highest of the high, the God, the archangels, the God force, can go down to a mediocre level, can go down to an animalistic level, or even below. Okay? So we have that capacity, and we're made in the image and likeness. So we can create whatever we want. What happens is that most people create subconsciously. That means that which you're not aware of. The subconscious, submarine that goes underground. All right. So it's just like if I take a pen and I throw that pen against, the screen here, it has little effect. It's just a little pen. But that same pen, I break it down to the molecular level. There's more power. I break it down to the atomic level, and then you can create an atomic bomb from that pen. You break it down even more to the subatomic level, all right? You can create a nuclear bomb, from that same thing. Everything is atoms and molecules, right? Everything. It's just energy, E equals MC squared. So you want to take that, but everything is directed by thought. You are a thought being. It's actually from the word, like it says in the sacred book. The word was with God, and then there's creation for 7 days. But your word is on 3 levels. Your word is the spoken word out of your mouth. The word is your thoughts, and the word is your finest feeling level that comes from the heart. All right? And when you get to the point where you can feel from your mind and think from your heart, then you're at a level of enlightenment, God realization, cosmic consciousness, Christ consciousness. And from that level, then you can turn the other cheek. From that level, yes, like my beautiful mother from the, she curses me out every day and I laugh at her, okay? But she's from the old school of, if you really love somebody, all right, you talk about them. All right. But that doesn't work because everything is frequency and vibration. So, and then you can't change another person. All you can change is yourself. Now you can send them love, light, bliss. You can't change, but as the world is as you are. So the more you grow in consciousness, it is reflected in your world. Initially, your initial world, and then it spreads on out because we're all connected. So the spiritual secrets, we talked about some of them, the chakras, the kundalini. Now, the first eye, which is referred to as the third eye, is the most powerful because it helps us to go from the spiritual to the physical, from the invisible to the visible, from the absolute to the relative. And in ancient times, how we had those big elongated skulls is because we had pineal glands the size of, golf balls. The average human being now is the size of a shriveled pea, okay? And it's crusted on top of that because of all the conditionings, programming, stress. That's why there's so much, crime and, against each other, domestic violence, all this stuff is because of the conditioning and the programming. And it's up to you as an adult to go in and reprogram yourself, and not just from the intellectual level. All right. And the tools that they use out here, like counseling and all those kind of things, and laying on somebody's couch, all you're doing is regurgitating the same thing and you're actually bringing it back more into your awareness. You focus on what you want. That's the way the human mind works. And then the others gets put in the background. But the more you purify your nervous system, the less of that vibration and frequency comes to you. Also, in the back of our skull, at the base of it, is referred to as the mouth of God. The mouth of God is the mind of man and woman. Okay? And remember, we're spiritual beings. So to activate that, we're in constant contact with the universe all the time. Your body is literally a temple. And the better you take care of that temple, the more you'll be able to contact with your higher self. You see, from a spiritual point of view, you have a higher self and a lower self. It's almost like this one great teacher said, yeah, there's a devil, but you put the pitchfork in his hand and you put, the tail on him because it's your lower self, right? But your higher self is you also. And the more energy you put towards your higher self, the things like seva, which is referred to as selfless service, adding increase, the law of increase, meditation, prayer, hydrating your body, alkaline, what you put in your body, that's your temple, the fuel, okay? Lighter foods. I'll give you other guys another little hack. Your digestion, okay, can be used for a lot more than just digesting up some food, okay? The digestion, the energy can go straight up your spine, right into your higher octaves of yourself, the higher centers. See, we are carbon-based, and that's that thing they talk about, the 666, and why, certain cultures don't want us. We're carbon-based, but we're going into crystalline base, crystal structures, and that crystalline base, and also the babies that are coming in, they're coming in at that level, which is pure light. We're light beings. So if you eat light things, there are a number of things that you eat that is very hard to digest. I don't want to get in, everybody lives their own life, but the lighter foods, especially the plants, the fruits, the nuts, the seeds, are much lighter. Things that digest in your body in 10, 15 minutes or something, 5 minutes, certain fruits, because they're 90% water, then that same energy goes up to enlighten you. And just like sleep is overrated, the more conscious you become, the less and less sleep you need. There's certain organs in the body that need a certain amount of rest, but also eating food is overrated. There are beings on this planet that are fruitarians. There are beings on this planet that just drink stuff. And then there are beings on this planet that are breatharians. I joke about it sometimes in some of my classes, but I said, I just take a big sniff and I'm full. That was a great meal. Okay. All right. So there's so many different realities, but you got to open up your awareness. I mean, I'm not at that level yet. I mean, I still like some good food, but I eat light food. Why do angels fly? Because they take everything so lightly. And literally, we can become human angels, we can become galactic humans, and we can become purely God force human beings. And then you transcend being a human being. Then you become a being, which is what you really, really are. Okay? So you start utilizing that mouth of God. And that mouth of God is who you really are. And that you start to fall in line with creation. And so your thoughts are the same thoughts of God. So that's why all the atoms and molecules come and rush forth to fulfill it. And another one of the great values of stopping to meditate is you get in tune with that. Even though sometimes when you meditate, I know most of you, had meditations where you have a lot of thoughts in your mind, or, you fall asleep, but you just keep with it. And you get to the point where, the thoughts will just come and go, and you get to the point where you have no thoughts. I've been doing this for decades. I go into meditation, it's boom, tapped in, tuned in, turned on. And, it's just there, and you start to have, cosmic orgasm, which would put, a normal everyday experience of orgasm or sex, it's way beyond it. I mean, that's good, but good is better and better is best, And just like any meditation is good, you can go in a go-kart, you can go in a Chevy, or you can go in a Rolls Royce. We get to choose. So, wow. One of the spiritual secrets on the WHOW is spiritual secrets, is wealth, health, opulence, and wisdom. That's a WHOW life. I'm actually a WHOW life coach. I help people to experience that because all of us have that potential. Now, opulence, very few people even talk about opulence anymore. The last time it was talked about was in the Old Testament. They say that Solomon, King Solomon, which we're all descendants of, King Solomon was arrayed in opulence. All right. And when I was in Ethiopia learning the sacred sounds, which are referred to as mantras, at the base of the Blue Nile in Ethiopia, cradle of creation, okay, I literally met with Haile Selassie. Well, our whole group met with Haile. The brother was so bad, he wanted to know what we were doing. We were 500 miles outside of Addis Ababa. He came to visit us, you know, and he was in silence. People don't know the value of silence. I was just this past New Year's, you know, everybody's yelling, screaming, da 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 da. I did that at night, but for that day, I was in total silence. All right. And in the tradition that I come from, it's usually 7 days, but I'm in, you know, if I'm on a course, I can do 7 days. Complete silence, just being still, you know, no cell phones, no computer, silence. Be still and know that I am God. So when you get into that stillness, and that even goes with quantum physics, one of the laws of thermodynamics is when a system goes to absolute zero, which you can do with the right techniques, all right, the entropy goes out of the system. Entropy is disorder, disharmony, disease, okay? That's what goes out naturally. See how systems are designed, all right? You know, we're the flower of life. Your nervous system is the tree of life inverted. We're a starch tetrahedron, a 6-sided pyramid, but you got to activate it before you can go through that portal. The portal of enlightenment, the portal of radiance, the portal of where your brain is illuminated, okay? Not like I got a headache or I got a migraine or, you know, I'm feeling, no, your brain is illuminated. You know, you're wired, fired, and inspired. And you never run out of energy, ever, okay? You put the energy bunny to shame because we're infinite energy. You know, that same creative intelligence that created the stars, the moon, the universe is you. It's creative and it's intelligent. And, you know, the maximum use of energy and intelligence is creativity. And it's in our system, it manifests through a thought. You never run out of thoughts. Have you ever run out of thoughts? No, and you never will when you're in a human body. All right. And you know, it's two characteristics that a thought has. A thought has energy because it's going from one area of the mind to another. Okay. And then it has intelligence because it can discriminate. And the use of energy and intelligence is creativity. So technically, we are infinite, unbounded, eternal, creative, energetic beings. And there's no end. All right. But it's up to you to contact that. And then the whole law of abundance, you know, we won't go into that. We don't really have the time. But, you know, that's also a natural state of affairs. You know, how many blades of grass are there? How many, you know, pieces of sand? How many stars? In it's infinite. And we have the capacity, you know, to tap into that abundance. All right. So we want to be living in an awakened life, to be awake, aware, and vibrantly alive. That is our birthright. Enlightenment, God realization, fully realized being, all right? And being the light of light, pure consciousness. And it's a field of all possibility. All things are possible because it's created. And we're co-creating all the time. It's just that we're not aware of it. The more you become aware of it, the greater your experience here. And then you move on to higher dimensions, the fifth, the sixth, you know, and moving into light realms. Okay. And you start to know this. Okay. It's not just some intellectual understanding. You start to know it. And then you know the truth and it will set you free. And then you start living as a master, a black avatar. All right. And this is not some movie. It's real. All right. But until you get out of the matrix, it's like an illusion. That's why they call it Maya. Maya means illusion. Maya is real. Knowledge is different in different states of consciousness. In fact, there used to be a Native American, well, they still exist. It's just that they're small, a Native American tribe where when they went to sleep at night, okay, and dream, and they were aware of their dreams, they said that was the real state. That was their waking state, okay, and that this state, what we call our conscious waking state, which is characterized, you know, with science, what they call the beta, you know, the beta frequency, and then, you know, you settle down into an alpha, more creative aspect, and then you go into a theta, which is the attraction state, and then you go into a deep delta state, which is your deep sleep state. But they said that their dream state was the real conscious state, and that this state was the dream. Okay? But they're all dreams. You dream in the waking state, you're dreaming the sleep state, you're dreaming the deep sleep state. All right. And until you wake, that's what God realization is. That's what enlightenment is. You wake up, wherever you are. I gave a talk down here one time at this the Black Vegetarian Society of Georgia, BVGSA, and you know, I go by cognition, you know, and download. And the whole talk, I just shouted out, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, you know. And literally in the past, it was hard to wake up. They're masters now. Some of them are not still on the planet. They would take a peacock feather and just tap a person on their third eye. And the illusion would be gone. They just wake up. Okay. And now we're helping each other. All of us are our own guru, our own shaman, our own master. We're helping each other to wake up. And just like somebody's in a hypnotic state and the guy snaps his finger and they're out of it, okay, that's what's starting to happen. I call it a popcorn effect. In the past, they were like, you know, Jesus, Yeshua, you know, avatar will come, or Rama, or Krishna, or Quetzalcoatl, or, you know, different beings. Moses also was a black avatar. And some of you might remember the thing. They said that he went up on the mountain and he saw, you know, the burning bush. And when he came down, all right, he said, I am have sent me. You know, I am is another name for God. Whatever you put behind I am, if you put enough energy and focus and consciousness, you become that. I am. All right. The burning bush is your Kundalini. All right. And when it becomes illumined, it's like it's on fire. And chariots of fire is when you ascend. What do you think Moses lived on and the brothers and sisters, the Hebrewites, for 40 years in the desert? Manna. Okay. Manna is substance. That substance is your consciousness. But it's the refined consciousness, because from that level, whatever you think manifests. You know, you say apple, boom, it's there. Because all the atoms and molecules rush to fulfill it. That's where we're going. All right. As long as you're still here, there's a lot of transition going on, a lot of phase transition. If you choose to be here, this is going to be an illumined planet Earth. Okay. As you know, right now, it's not. But just like you're in a dream and, you know, you're falling off the cliff or the monster's coming after you, what happens when you wake up? It's a total different experience. So, you know, and that's what we're doing now. We're collectively raising the vibration of Earth. It's our job to do it. And we're doing it through gratitude, through service, through light, through love. And the greatest service that we're doing is with ourselves. Self-love, you know, is the key to awakening, you know, taking care of yourself. And as you take care of yourself and you raise your consciousness, then your cup starts to run over. Then there's contribution. Then you can give back. All right. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like we're saying here, do you realize how lucky you are to be living on this planet, to witness the destruction of the ancient control systems and the quantum leap into our human civilization? Your particular soul chose this time to incarnate here. Remember, there's no victims as far as the universe is concerned, but there are volunteers. And all of us volunteered to be here. Okay? So it's a very blessed time. And the more you wake up, the more you realize it, the more you can help yourself, your family, your nation, your world. And us as Black folks, you know, we're helping each other. You know, we're coming back to get that separation that has been created. We're coming back. We're unifying. In fact, one of the things I've been blessed with is, you know, the Real Wealth Institute, a knowledge institute, to be in 54 cities around the country and around the world, and 108 around the world. So we're looking at collectively raising that vibration of Earth and creating centers in 54 cities around the U.S. where there's a majority of Black population, all right, and creating a situation for you know, around the world. So I think I'm getting near the time for questions and answers, because it's a lot, and I think Ida is going to help me.
Yes, yes, indeed. Going to help you with the question and answers. What I would like, if you could, can you go to the slide where people can contact you, just so that they can have your contact information? And his latest book is available on Amazon. And what I'm going to do is share that Amazon link in the chat, so that if you would like to purchase the book, you will be able to do that.
Yes, and also we're doing a special thing today. As you know, it's not a lot of us brothers and sisters that write books, but we're gonna change that. You know, the old saying is, you really want to hide something from, you know, a brother or sister, you put it in a book. But we're gonna change that. Okay. But we have an opportunity to turn my book, which I just published about 2-3 weeks ago, into a bestseller. And we reduced the price for the hard copy. We want to get the hard copy because we already did it with the Kindle version. All right. But the hard copy is only $9.99. It's a lot of good knowledge. A lot of the things I said here today is in the book, but it has to be bought today because Amazon has a logarithm. Okay. And when you go in there, a lot of times the Kindle will come up first and you got to just move it. There's a little arrow, move it into the paperback. Or if you go on your laptop or desktop, you'll see there's another box for the paperback. And if enough of us buy it today, it will bless me with a bestseller, and then Amazon will promote it. So I'm asking the family to bless me. You know, $9.99. That's like we got, actually it's more here. We got a beautiful sister here in Atlanta at a beautiful restaurant called Loving It Live. And you know, it costs a little bit, but you gotta pay the cost to be the boss. But one of my favorite sandwiches is barbecue sage sandwich. And so act like you're taking me out to lunch for a barbecue sage.
Yes, yes, yes. Someone asked what's the name of the book. It is Wealth Secrets of the Soul. Wealth Secrets of the Soul is the name of the book, and I'm going to type that in the chat. Um, okay, and also um, on the slide, you may also notice some other options in case you wanted to purchase the book. Please go to Amazon to purchase the book. If you want to make a donation to Master J. Rue for his knowledge, for his time, just to say thank you. He is accepting donations on Cash App and PayPal. Those addresses are on this slide. And what we're going to do now, and shout out to Aaron Mackey, purchased the book already. So great. Thank you so much. A couple of housekeeping questions. This recording will be available on Facebook at the IKG Cultural Resource page. So that is where you can get or see the recording. And we're going to go ahead into the Q&A box and start going over some of these questions. So again, if you have a question, please type it in the Q&A box. Our first question from an anonymous attendee: what if you're sorry for any mistakes you've made towards another, but they hold the grudge or can't forgive? How does it affect the one who seeks the forgiveness without it being given, without the forgiveness being given?
Okay, good question. I'll put it in a broader universal sense, and then I'll bring it into relative. In a broader sense, there's only three people in the universe: you, and you. Okay, or sometimes people refer as me, myself, and I. That's the broader cosmic sense. Okay. Now, as you bring matter down, we're in matter, and we're in a third dimensional relative of it. There is separation. There's this person, there's that person, there's this gender, there's that gender. Okay. But the universe functions the way we've set it up here. The universe functions off of frequency and vibration. Another term for it is karma. All right. And in the great book, it's called You Reap What You Sow, cause and effect. So whatever you're putting out, you will get back. If that other person is putting out the negative, the low life, they will get it back. So you take care of yourself. You cannot change another person. And as long as you're giving that goodness and you're giving for, which is what forgiveness is, okay, then you're okay. The universe, because that's the frequency and vibration you're on. If they want to trip on that lower life, they're basically just destroying themselves, killing themselves, creating dis-ease for themselves. And all you can do is bless them and send them love and light.
Okay, thank you. The next question comes from Najima. Any suggestions or techniques on how to improve meditation? I have a hard time staying focused and keeping my mind clear.
Good question. You need to be trained. It's just like you bring a puppy home and you can tell them and you can put some little paper on the thing, you might be able to train them. But if you take that same puppy to school as they grow up, then, they have a lot more manners. Your mind is considered like a monkey mind. Okay. And it's all over the place. And especially in the West, we're not taught to discipline our mind. And as you become an adult, it becomes harder and harder because you pick up more and more stress. You can contact me afterwards. I know some different meditation teachers around the country and around the world. If you're anywhere near Atlanta, I would gladly teach you. I do courses once a quarter. Once every 6 months. And eventually we're going to have these knowledge centers, physical knowledge centers, where you can actually go and learn. And the training, you just got to be trained. It's just like an Olympic athlete. You got to train and work out. But if you're not trained and you just try to sit down and meditate, your mind is going to be all over the place. But I can train you. In fact, one of the things that I tell my students in terms of when we're going through the classes, one time, I'm originally from DC, and one time I meditated during a football game. Okay, 50,000 people yelling, screaming, everything, and I'm still able to manage. Now I put on some shades so people didn't think I was out of my mind. And it was really what you call an infinite correlation of synchronicity. Because when I went into meditation, there was, no talk of it. But when I came out, they were doing a wave. And literally when I finished my meditation, and that's another thing too, there's skill to meditation. There's a going in procedure, there's a coming out procedure. So when I came out of my coming out of procedure, it was right at the time when they were at our rows, and I got up, and continued on with everyone else. Another point to remember is there are two types of meditation, and most of the meditations that are taught here are what they call for a recluse, for somebody who's in a cave or in a temple or in the forest, those type of meditations deal a lot more with your inner thought. Then there are meditations that are for householders, people who are active. It was actually given to kings and queens and warriors because they had to maintain their kingdom and be in a lot of activity. All right. That's the type of meditation I teach, where you learn it, and it only takes you 15 to 20 minutes a couple of times a day. And you can meditate under any circumstances, except for, you got to be able to close your eyes. You don't want to be meditating while you're driving. If somebody else is driving, though, you can definitely meditate, even with the music on and stuff. But again, it's training. All right. So, look me up, email me, or call me, and I'll recommend a teacher for you if you're in the United States. If you're outside of the United States, I also know some teachers outside of the United States.
Awesome. Our next question from Ari: what happens if you don't dream or remember your dreams?
That's okay. That's how 99% of the population is. Okay. What you want to start doing is mastering the waking state first. All right. And then you can start to master the other state. I mean, there are techniques. I know you've heard the thing about lucid dreaming and all that kind of stuff. And everything can help you. All right. It's just that, you want to be led, you want to be guided by, someone who's knowledgeable and who's been that way before. You don't have to know about your dreams at night, but as you become more and more conscious, it naturally happens.
Okay. A couple people are asking about the slides. So I'm not sure if you're going to share your slides, but I will encourage everyone to go to his website, go to Master J. Rue's website, and that is at realwealthinstitute.org. It is on the slide that's showing right now, realwealthinstitute.org. And as well, his contact information is provided if you do have further questions that might go beyond his demands for tonight's presentation. Our next question comes from Carla. What female avatar?
Hold off on that one too. My website, the email address thing is not connected. We had some, we're revamping it. So at realwealth1008@gmail.com, if you send me your email, I will put you on our mailing list. And the slides are part of a course that I will be giving probably during Black History Month. And we started off with a webinar like this to let you know all about it. There's a charge, for time and energy and stuff, but you know all that stuff up front. And just send me your email address, and we'll let you know about coming events, and also about the Knowledge Institutes. Part of the Knowledge Institutes is we're going to have these eco villages that are off the chain. In fact, I'd like to show you guys, let me see here, the type of buildings we're talking about, and we're looking at, so this is my website, the vision, and you see this house here on the left. It's literally a portal. You're bringing in cosmic energy. That the houses that we're building, when you come home from the house will meditate you. Okay, which is off the chain. You walk home, and instead of being tired, you literally put in, I'll just be straight up with you. You're in an ascension chamber. Okay, because that's what's happening now. We're starting to ascend. The whole thing of descending, we've already done. So the ascension, in the light. And like the brother said, he said, I'm the resurrection and the life. But what was left out of some of the translation is also, I am the ascension and the light. We're light beings. So we're going to be creating structures, modern, smart homes, all green, that when you come home, it will elevate you. Okay. And made out of all natural materials, and we got different designs, but the main thing is that it's all natural materials, and they're made out of star tetrahedrons, which are 6-sided pyramids. Okay.
All right. Our next question. What female avatars are you aware of? And then also another question related to that. What was the name of the Black brother that was an avatar that you showed initially?
Satya Sai Baba. And the other one was Tat Wala Baba. And yes, there are a number. See, there's also avatars also turn into, sometimes they're classified as ascendant masters also. Okay. And there are a number of them, and they actually walk this planet. There's a brother called Afra. There's another brother called Serapis Bey, and there is Kuan Yin, a sister, Mother Mary, and also Mary Magdalene, which, some of the history puts her in a different light, but she was a master. And if you look at the Last Supper, there are 12 guys and one lady, and there's actually 13 people, and that's Mary Magdalene. And you can go back, you can go back even further. Like some, there's avatars that were in some of our ancient Kemetic, like Akhenaten was, probably, he was a pharaoh and a high priest, and he probably was at least a quarter avatar. All right. And a lot of people don't know he went through a similar thing like Jesus did, Yeshua did, where he enlightened a lot of people, and he would initiate people in the pyramids, and lightning would actually hit the bin point. Okay. But then they, people weren't ready for it, and, they kind of strung him up just like they did the brother. But see, at that level, you going out. And the instance of the brother, Tatwala Baba, that I was showing you, the other brother, he stayed up into his cave until he was in his hundreds and stuff. And then one day, somebody climbed all the way up into the foothills of the Himalayas with a shotgun, all right, and shot him. But he knew it. He told his friends and disciples that he was taking on a lot of the violent karma of the world to go out like that. Okay. So, when Yeshua and Jesus was on the throne, I mean, he knew it. I mean, we're on the cross. And there's another good analogy about, you remember about the two thieves that, the brother Yeshua, Jesus was in the middle cross, and then there's a thief on the left and a thief on the right. And a teaching on that is that the future, the thief on the right, that represents the future. If you get caught up into that, I mean, you got to have some vision, because without vision, the people perish. But if you get caught up in the future, then you'll get crucified. The thief on the left represents the past. And if you get caught up in that, you'll get crucified. But if you're in the present, in the now, then you will ascend, which is what the great brother did. And also that great brother was an Essene, which was a sect of very spiritual people. These were all Black folks. These people had melanin in them, and they were all bad. Like, for instance, they didn't give Joseph much play, but Joseph was a master too, okay? And very few people talk about Anna, grandmother of Jesus. You talk about these female avatars, all right? Anna lived to be 650 years old and had 54 children. And she was a major force. And that's why, Yeshua came through her, through that particular line. So there are a lot of, and then not just in, it's in the Far East, it's in, ancient, there's a lot of misinterpreted stuff. Like, for instance, Methuselah, Methuselah, the sister with the snakes coming out of her head. They say snakes, but they were locks, and there's a lot of different in our African culture that represented great beings and gods and avatars that have been destroyed. Okay.
Okay, awesome. So one of the things I do with the questions, I combine them. So I'm gonna combine a couple of questions. And the question is about our thoughts and how do we create good thoughts. And someone asks, since we're constantly manifesting, what can we do to break negative patterns so that we don't continuously create things we don't want? And then along those lines, someone else also asks, how do we co-create? So I'm just going to ask if you can address those two questions. How do you co-create? And then how do we create good thoughts?
Okay. Now, thoughts are pure. I wish I had a diagram I could show how you go in, like you got the conscious part of the mind up here, and you start going down into your subconscious, and you go into your unconscious and your superconscious as you visualize going within. So the thoughts come up from that baseline, what we call pure consciousness. And then they come up through your awareness and literally through your skull, okay? But the spiritual part is there first, and then it comes up through that aspect, all right? So what changes the thought that can turn it into a negative thought or a less than thought or what is called a discordant thought, okay, is the body temple. So remember, your nervous system is your vehicle for perception. And when you get enough impressions on your nervous system, these, millions of nerve ends like little antennas, they get overloaded. All right. So what you want to do is things that strengthen your nervous system and take the stress off. Stress is any chemical or structural imbalance that remains in your system after an overload of experience, which could be good, bad, or ugly. Okay. So you pick up stress every day. So you want to do technologies. One is to get, regular, proper rest. And then you want to add on meditation. I would say meditation is the number one way. But deep meditation, the deeper the meditation, the more the stress you'll get off. Right? So meditation, and through discipline, you start telling your mind how to think. Just because a thought comes up, you don't have to just accept it. You can cancel thoughts. You can change them. You can balance them out with another good thought. But that deep rest is nature's natural way of dissolving the stress so that you have purer and purer thoughts. And then you have less and less of the discordant or negative or low life thoughts, Again, working on yourself. You want to start a spiritual practice that you do every day, twice a day. Okay. And, also prayer, but a dynamic prayer, not like, which is really an affirmation, an affirmative prayer, because meditation just means deep thinking. There are all types of deep thinking. Okay. You can walk down the street and deep think. You can be in your bathtub and deep think. Okay. But generally to go deeper, you got to close your eyes. You got to cut off your senses. And that's why most people think, they got to set up an environment, and that's cool. You can do that. But as you become skilled, you don't have to be, in front of your altar or in a special quiet room, with just candles and da da da. You can be on a bus. You could be in a football game. You can be anywhere. But you do it. I tell people, get like Nike, the slogan for Nike is just do it. And then it starts to enliven you. Things that are good for you start to stay with you. Things that are bad for you start to fall away. And the thought is the basis before the emotion. The thought is the basis before anything outside manifests. So you want to go into that third law of thermodynamics, become still, go to absolute zero, and then the disorder, disease, stress, disharmony goes away. So the more you do that, and the more you raise your vibration. Another way to raise your vibration is to go out in nature. If you're around concrete and, sirens and all like that, it just keeps putting stress on you. All right. And I got another book coming out. It'll probably be out by the fall. 108 ways to raise your vibration, And like I say, if you send me your email address, I'll put you on the mailing list. So there's a number of ways, but I would say the number one way is meditation.
So to your point, you were mentioning prayer, and a question someone had is, how is prayer different from meditation?
Okay. When you pray, you talk to God. When you meditate, you listen.
Okay. I like it. Yes. Stephen has a question. After the Great Reset occurred December 21st with the alignment of Saturn, Jupiter, Earth, how should we interpret this event in our lives and meditations?
Okay. So there's duality, which is on this dimension, it exists. On other dimensions, it doesn't really exist, but we're in this, in modern terms, they call it matrix. All right. So in this dimension that we're in, and the special points that come up, and they also coincided with the Mayan calendars and and different things like that, and Jupiter the Jupiter-Saturn thing. And, it's all these cosmic things because they all have energy. So this outer aspect is just giving us an indication of what's coming forward. All right. And it's actually helping us. It's just like one time a great teacher was saying, somebody asked him what was grace. Okay. And that's another thing that's starting to happen in this as we go into this time he's talking about. See, we've been dealing with karma for that duality of experience. All right, what goes around comes around. For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. You reap what you sow, et cetera, et cetera. So, but it keeps, it goes out, it comes back. So we're going to another level where it's graced, it's done with. It doesn't have to keep going. So they gave the analogy, it's like a young boy, and that's real short, and there's this bell, 6 feet above. And, he's jumping up, he's trying to get it. And then a nice young gentleman comes and rings the bell for the young boy, or picks him up so that he can ring the bell. That's grace. Okay. So we're at a time where we're getting support from the universe, from nature. Okay. These times, and then the planet is a live being, sometimes referred to as Mother Gaia. Okay. And in ancient times, it was called Pan. Okay. And so we're getting help from Saturn, Jupiter, Mars. We get it all the time anyway. It's not just the sun. It's not just Ra. I think I looked at this thing when we had the Jupiter connection with Saturn. They were saying you could put it's something ridiculous, something like 12 to 30 something Earths inside of Jupiter. That's how big it is. And for something to be that big, it has to have energy. So all of them are giving energy to us. And then it's the Milky Way galaxy. Then it's this universe itself. Then it's the stars, just like the pyramids are connected with Orion. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on. And we're getting support. And events like that just indicates times that this support is coming in. And just on a scientific level, there's more plasma coming from the sun, okay, and more photons. So it's a lot going on as we go into this new age, which is referred to as the age of Aquarius, sometimes referred to as Sat Yuga, sometimes referred to as the Golden Age, sometimes referred to as back to Eden, when the lion is laying down with the lamb, and the age of enlightenment. Some people are even saying that by 2032 to 2035, okay, which is 20 years from that, 2012 harmonic convergence, that we will be at the full sunshine of what is referred to as the age of enlightenment. We'll see. Things are getting better, but they're mainly getting better inside of people, and then it starts to manifest outwardly.
Okay, thank you. And we have quite a few questions, so I'm going to try to get through as many as we can. Someone asked if you can please talk a little bit about financial creation. They noticed a slide that you had.
So I went past that slide.
Maybe a quick summation about financial creation. Yes.
Yeah, that's a biggie, but it takes time. We didn't really have the time. This course I have coming up in February, near the end of February, we will go more into detail. But the natural state of affairs of the universe is abundance. I talked about, how many grains of sand are there, how many, stars in the sky. So what happens is we block the abundance with our mind. All right. And it's a subconscious thing. So, but you can learn certain techniques and certain laws. Like, for instance, in this course, there's 7 laws. There's a law of radiation and attraction. It's been watered down where they say it's just attraction, but it's really the law of radiation and attraction. That what you radiate in your thoughts, words, deeds, and action, you will attract. There is the law of command from the spoken word. You speak it out, you command things, you can command things in existence. There's the law of increase. There's the vacuum law, which has a lot to do with forgiveness. So it's these different laws. It's the creative law. And once you know these laws and you do the work on yourself, stuff will just be manifesting, because we're manifestors anyway. Okay. But it takes more than, answering a question at the end of the thing. But see, it also starts the process of remembering. Everything is inside of you. Everything, all knowledge, all information, all awareness is inside of you. The hack is to get it out. And I strongly, strongly recommend a deep meditation. And of course, I'm biased. I say transcendental meditation, TM. But any form of meditation will help you. But, and when you start tapping into that level, see, the universe or God is the source. And that's where we sometimes get separated, where we look at our job, we look at, if you've been on the planet a while, your Social Security, or, if you're fortunate enough to have a trust fund, or, or an investment as the source. No, those are channels. All right. And as long as you're tapped in, tuned in, turned on to the source, then, the fairy tale where they talk about, Aladdin and the genie, and you got 3 wishes, that's also been distorted. The universe is like that lamp, but you have infinite wishes, but you got to know how to rub it. You got to know how to be tapped in, tuned in, and turned on. And the last thing I'll say about that is, it's just like it is in the Bible. It says, ask and you shall receive. And it's true. When you ask, you've already received, but it's not on this plane. Some people refer to it as a vortex or another dimension. It's in the spiritual realm. All right. To get it into this 3D manifestation, you have to be in alignment. So we teach you things on how to be in alignment, how to be in harmony, and then it'll just manifest on this plane. But we are moving to that level as long as you work on yourself and you become a black avatar, where as soon as you say something, as soon as you think or say or feel something, because the feeling gets the blessing, it will manifest in 3D reality.
Okay, and for people to join the class, they should go to your website.
They should email me, because they can't. My thing is what is it? It's dislodged. They can't. Yeah, it's dislodged.
So
Yeah.
please email Master J. Rue at realwealth1008@gmail.com if you would like more information on the class. Also, a couple people asked, is your book available on Audible, or are there audio versions of your books?
There'll probably be an Audible version by the end of February, but right now we don't have an Audible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question.
Now, one thing though about that, if you hooked into Amazon and you have Siri, Siri will read the book to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I actually have 2 of my students that are blind, and I've taught them to meditate, and they've taken some of my classes, and they've read my book by just listening to it through and I think Siri, some of it online is free, or you can get a little one of those little things, and for like $15-20, and it'll read any book for you out of the millions of books that they have.
Okay. Another question. You mentioned that there is 7 generations ahead of us and 7 generations behind us, and we can do something to make a change. Do the number 8 play a part in this change?
Well, all numbers See, that's once we open the institute, we're going to have courses, and we're going to bring in other experts. Not just me. We're going to have experts on all these, and there's a whole science on numerology. Okay, and 8, is the number of abundance, and each number has its part in the universe, and it's a lot to try to explain in a little question, but numerology is part of the sciences that you start to become more and more aware of. Okay, like for instance, I'm actually a math major. I was blessed, to go to HBCU, Morehouse College back in the day, and I got a degree in math. And the only reason why I was good in math was back in the day, my grandmother and also my daddy, they ran the numbers. So I got good at numbers, okay? All right? But that whole thing of numerology, if you really know about it, that's another tool that you can use, all right? And so it's just these other tools are starting to come back. But the greatest tool is your consciousness. And then, and you start using the outer tools, but they enhance the inner tool, and it creates that loop, that yin and that yang, or sometimes referred to as the Shiva and the Shakti. And also at the base of your spine, and a number of you have seen that caduceus, that exemplifies you, where it has the sword coming up and the 2 snakes going through. It's it's called the Pina and the Pingala, and it goes up to the top of your crown at the base of your head. And so the energetic you, which is exemplified in that sword and the snakes and the male and the female, the real marriage, the reason why I wanted to board it up, the real marriage in life is when you connect the 2 from the base of the spine to the top of the head. It's called the marriage of Canaan in the good book. All right. And when that happens and there's no impediments, that's when you are fully human being. That's when you are a black avatar. That's when you are God realized. That's when you are in Christ consciousness. Because remember, it was Jesus the Christ, but it can also be, Adwa Christ. It can be Atlantis Christ. It can be, Joe Christ. It could be Tawanda Christ. You see what I'm saying? We have that ability to go to be the fully realized of who we really are. And what we really are Christed being.
Okay, awesome. Another question is around reincarnation and past lives.
Okay.
Is there such a thing as tapping into your past life? I sometimes feel like I have been here many times over. Um, and then another person asked about reincarnation. They had a child that passed and wanted to know, could that child return? Um, it was an adult child, but nevertheless, a child that passed, and wanted to know about that. So if you could touch upon reincarnation and tapping into our past lives.
Okay. Reincarnation is something that's in all the great sacred books of the world. And it was actually taken out of the whole Christian thing in the Council of Nicaea. It was a Roman emperor, Constantinople, or whatever his name was, and they took it out. It was around 325 AD. You can just do a little bit of research on it. And all the other sacred books, around the world refer to reincarnation. And as you grow in consciousness, literally, the thing they talk about, deja vu, okay, you start to have it. And like for instance, I know that I've been here before. It's a level of knowing. This is not just some intellectual understanding, all right? But until you get to that level of knowingness, you can, be pointed. And also, the more you meditate, the more your awareness encompasses the past, the present, and the future, all right? Because on one level, it's all one. On another level, it's separated out. So, just like, water can be steam, it can be, ice, and it can be water. Okay, so there's a number of realities that are existing simultaneously, and many of us have been. In fact, back in the I think it was like the 90s or early 2000s, there was a New York Times bestseller. It was called Many Lives, Many Masters. It was, like a regular book on New York Times. And it talked about how, psychiatrists were putting people, on the couch, and they would, hypnotize them and take them back. All right. But people kept going. They were taking them back to childhood to see about some childhood trauma and all that kind of stuff. But they would keep going back, and they went back into other lifetimes, and they told about things and where things were hidden that the person had to be there. So reincarnation is real. When you're on this third dimension, it's real. Okay. You get into the light realms and stuff. It's a whole nother ball game. So it is real, and all things are possible. The other thing is that nobody dies. All right. But you can drop your body, as you know. Okay. So if a loved one has gone, his body is gone, or her body is gone. Okay. But they can still be around. All right. Unless they've gone on into, the light realms. Some people stick around and, want to come back. Some people stick around to help out. And in Buddhist culture, they call them bodhisattvas. Okay. In more Western one, they call them ascended masters. They stick around and they come back and help, because a master helps to train people to become a master themselves. Okay. Or you can just go, to the Godhead, go to the light. It's a choice that a soul can take, but nobody dies.
Okay. To that point, how Marilyn asked, what can we do to reduce the aging process? Can you name the top 3 important factors um, for retarding the aging process?
Meditation, diet, and exercise. Okay. And around the diet thing, and like I say, I don't want to get heavy. Everybody eats whatever they want. But one of the things that most people don't take into consideration, and this has been part of Kali Yuga because we've been conditioned this way, is that, when an animal is killed, it does not want to die. It's a sentient being itself. All right. Whether it's a fish, a shrimp, or whether it's, running around mammal, doesn't want to die. Okay. So when it does die, because of the connection with the physical body, there's a lot of fear. All right. Not to mention the uric acid in it. All right. In fact, I actually haven't even read the book. It's called the China Study, and it studied people eating flesh for 25 years. Okay. And all the uric acid that was created that caused all the breakdown of the various organs and liver and brain and everything else. But the fear part is even more, because we're spiritual beings. So if you take that on and the fear, it's going to create the wear and tear, and it's going to create the disease. So to become an enlightened being, you want to start eating lighter, okay? Plant-based. You want to be more alkaline. You want to drink, alkaline water and spring water, okay? And as much as you can, but, higher frequency water. And you want to have high frequency thoughts. See, you eat through all 5 of your senses. It's not just your mouth, okay? So when you turn on Empire or Power or this, even though you're saying that's entertainment, that's part of Kali Yuga. That's going right in. The brain doesn't know the difference between an imagined act, okay, and a so-called real act. I was teaching back in the day in DC when that movie Exorcist came out, okay, back in the day. And people, they would come to learn meditation, but they were afraid to close their eyes because the movie had taken them out so much. Don't go see it. You see what I'm saying? Watch what you put in your ears because you're eating it. Watch what you're putting in your eyes because you're eating it. It's not just your mouth. Okay? So, meditation, diet, and exercise. Also take care of the body. The body is super fluid. As a person gets older, okay, or I like to say more mature, right? The body gets a little more stiff if you don't exercise it. All right. And I'm not talking about this hard Western exercise. They say that the two best regular exercises is walking and swimming. But the body is flesh. It needs to be moved. And even that thing where you get in the bouncer. But I think that the best exercise is yoga, the physical yoga, because you're stretching along with it. You're moving the body. And you know, when a person dies, they get rigor mortis. That means that the system is so tight. It's rigor mortis. All right. And the more you move your nervous system, your spine, you know, by the different positions, okay, you keep the body fluid. You see? So you want to keep it fluid. You want to put in, you know, the highest light grade foods, okay? And then you want to meditate, meditation and prayer. You know, the affirmative outward, and then the, you know, the natural going within. The type of meditation that I use, we use mantras, sacred mantras, what I was trained in Africa at the base of the Blue Nile. And they're type of mantras that don't have any meaning. They just have sound quality to take you down. But even once you learn certain techniques, like the technique I teach with TM, you even transcend the mantra. You don't even use it anymore. You go to a state of being. Remember, we're human beings, not human doings. You know, even though you got to do this, do that, we get caught up in doing. We're being, establishing being. There's a saying, Sanskrit saying that says, Yoga Sa Kuru Kamani, establishing being, then perform action.
Wonderful. What a great way to end. There are a few questions in the Q&A that we weren't able to get to. So we do encourage you to email Master J. Rue those questions. A lot of them are personal experiences, and I'm sure would provide and add to our rich discussion. So we do encourage you to reach out directly. Thank you so much, Master J. Rue. This was an absolutely wonderful presentation. Many people purchased the book as you were talking, so thank you all for purchasing the book. Again, the link is within the chat. If you would still like to purchase a book, I mean, and you can purchase it tomorrow or the next day. So there's, of course, always time to purchase the book.
Right, but remember, we want to
get that 24-hour
become a bestseller.
Bestseller. That's our goal, the bestseller.
Yeah. So for $9.99, and remember, you got to get the paperback. We got to do it today. I mean, you could do it tonight or later on, but you want to do it today to have that effect.
Yes, you know? Yes. So we see people are typing in the chat. They've purchased the book, so thank you. If you would like to donate to Master J. Rue, his Cash App is $J. Rue Love, or you can PayPal him at realwealth1008@gmail.com. And Master J. Rue, I'm going to ask if you can stop sharing your screen. I just want to put up a slide here.
Okay.
Okay. And I want to invite everyone out to our next Wisdom Wednesday session, which will take place on February 17th. Let me get to the next slide here. Let's see. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay. So our next presentation will be February 17th, 2021, and it will be featuring Dr. Sheila Walker speaking on Familiar Faces, Unexpected Places, a Global African Diaspora. If you would like to sign up for our IKG mailing list, please go to ikgculturalresourcecenter.com, click on Contact from the menu, and then you can be added to our listserv. And again, you can go to Facebook to our IKG Cultural Resource page to see a recording of tonight's program. If you would like to donate to IKG, you can Cash App us at $IKGCC or at the PayPal Giving Fund, IKG Cultural Resource Center, and through Amazon Smile, IKG Cultural Circles. You can note if you're donating for IKG or if you're donating for the ASA Restoration Project, which is an ongoing fundraiser that we're doing. So just wanted to put this up there for everyone's information. Thank you all again for coming out. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your engagement. We appreciate your thoughtful questions. And we hope that this information was informative to you and transformative as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to Master J. Rue for any closing or final remarks.
Okay, so I just like to thank IKG. I really appreciate this opportunity, and just us as Black folks, it's our time now. It really is. It's time for us. In fact, part of the program that I'm creating is there's actually 108 knowledge centers, and it's based on the concept of franchising, and just like God bless them, because when I was growing up, I loved the French fries, but just like McDonald's franchise bad food, okay, we're gonna franchise good knowledge, and in 54 major U.S. cities where there's a large Black population, we're going to create these knowledge centers. But the other 54, 40 of them will be in Africa, in 40 of the major cities in Africa. And so we're going to be bringing in our family, our wise men and wise women from the continent and from around the States and from places like Brazil and all over the world, to bring back our family as we go into this new age, and literally step into our natural birthright as pharaohs, queens, kings, emperors, empresses, from the level of consciousness, and it's going to reflect in the relative 3D world. Okay. And I'm just so thankful to be a guide, a lamppost. And one thing that I've learned, I've been blessed. I've been to 35 countries, all dealing with Black folks, in the Caribbean and Africa and Brazil and all over the States. And we all have it. It's not like, this conditioning that, one person has more than another. Now, one person might be born with a little more open, okay? But we all have the capacity to be great, to be magnificent, to be fantastic, to be a living light. But it's up to us to step into that awareness. And I think that's what we're doing now. And great platforms like the IKG allowing that to happen. And I just give thanks and praise to everyone. And, I say Hotep.
Ashe, Ashe, what a great way to end. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for being a light bearer and for, providing the opportunity for many of us to increase our light. So we are going to officially end and gonna ask, let's see if we can stop the recording.